Since its initial inception, gentle drop-off at our doorstep, if you will, the Trial Chambers has been a pretty fire structure. There's a lot of cool things about the structure. There is also one gigantic uncool thing about the structure, though, and that's the severely, intensely disappointing loot. For 99.5% certainty, the loot inside of the Trial Chambers will be receiving an upgrade. Fingers crossed soon. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, everybody, how you doing? It's me, your handsome lad. Over the course of today's video, we're going to take a look into my crystal ball and gaze at the future of Minecraft 1.21. From small things to big things, Minecraft 1.21 is already in a finished up and polished state. So, what's happening until it drops in the summer? Down below in the comments, take your best guess. I'd love to hear it. What are you most hoping to see in the rest of Minecraft 1.21? So the loot, as it currently stands, the loot is severely, intensely, and shamefully disappointing. Across the entire structure, we have a couple different loot tables going on. Sometimes the loot can maybe get a little bit better, but for the most part, the loot is so sad. All of the loot that currently comes out of these trial spawners after you take on the trial and win seamlessly without getting touched at once in the corner by the slime. Leave me alone, buddy. Look, I hate to say it, I really do, but out of every structure Minecraft has ever added, right now, this is some of the most disappointing loot ever. Another thing that we're likely to see over the next couple of months of 1.21 development is further refinement of the trial chamber structure. It's not that the Trial Chambers isn't good, because it is, it's beautiful, but there's a couple mysterious things about it. Mysterious doors that seem to be entrances to absolutely nothing, and also relatively broken generation. Things like dripstone, skulk, and even cave vines, they're not meant to ever pop up inside of the chambers. On Bedrock, it's even worse. I promise, I swear, I'm not going to load this video up with a bunch of no-brainers, but I feel like I kind of definitely had to throw this one in here. Over the next couple of months, definitely, the Trial Chambers will see not only loot changes, but probably also a lot of generation adjustments and polishing as well. For example, on Bedrock, random mobs like creepers can still spawn in the chambers. That's not how it's meant to work. Moving on. Our next stop in the Minecraft 1.21 speculation train today sends us to the world's smallest desert that is also... Look, the meme's dead, gone, and buried, but it's also Ohio. Am I right, lads? So here we are, stranded in the middle of the ocean at the world's smallest desert. In the inventory, I've got nothing more than food, a getaway car, and a little bit of layers. And speaking of layers, this one's a throwback, but if you know, instantly you know. Over in the world of Twitter world, yours truly, as in Nenbot, August 2nd, the changelog of 23W318 failed to mention functionality of camel table. Now, upon initial inspection of this image, it's strange, it's weird, nobody knows what's going on, but it doesn't seem like too much is really going on until all of a sudden, boom, top corner of this picture, something so strange had happened. It looks like layers and layers of sand are dotted all across this dusty desert. Now over in game, trying to recreate a similar vibe, if I start to place down singular snow layers, probably the closest thing we have to this effect in game currently, it doesn't seem like it's quite cutting it. Instead, it looks like maybe every single sand layer that we're seeing in that image is maybe like a doubled up snow layer. So like twice as high as your classic in the wild snowy pit. That could mean that a single block of sand is getting cut up into 1, 2, 3, 4 different parts. Instead of like a half slab, or 8 layers of snow, it's 4 layers of sand for a single block. This is weird, really, really strange, mysterious, suspicious, and weird. Like, if this really was for nothing, why is this even a thing? Now, pretty much immediately, one day later, Nembon clarified and said, for those of you wondering about the previous post, it's my bad, it was an accident. We were just testing some retextured snow layers with random high tick speed, nothing more than that. No reason to be suspicious. I think I just combined suspicious and curious, so let's go with it. No reason to be suspicious, nope, not at all. Just testing some retextured snow layers. Hey, for the heck of it, for fun. Okay, yeah, sure. That's definitely what somebody would say who was... maybe accidentally slip up a little bit, Maybe? I'll admit it, a lot of what we're talking about today is pure speculation. We don't necessarily know for 100% certainty, but with an assumed release date of summer 2024, we've got about 6 months left of development. For years now, years and years and years, the desert has been left the same. Not that a sandy desert update or even a sandstorm weather update that maybe causes sand layers all over the desert when it happens would make sense, yet not that any of that would necessarily make full sense with the current combat theme of the update. But I mean, a swamp and the deep dark even isn't necessarily wild. The calibrated skulk sensor from Trails and Tales isn't a trail, and it's definitely not a tail either, so I guess you never know. Now, next stop of the day today is by far one of my favorite stops of the day. I'm always excited to slide down into this place. The Ancient City, the deepest, darkest space in the entire game. Dangione, the wonderful lad himself. We just recently talked about him again in this video right here. And an amazing leak from our wonderful dated friend Dangione, we got this simple whole emoji right here. What in the world could it mean? Now, upon initial rumors and speculation, I heavily theorized that maybe that tweet symbolizes something with the end. Maybe, at long last, Minecraft 1.21 is the end update of our dreams. Finally, after years and years of waiting, they're gonna revisit it. After all, that emoji looks like this thing right there. Nowadays, though, now that 1.21 development is underway, I severely hope that an end update is not going to be crammed into this update. Of course, unless it's on the tier of the Nether update. Instead, in my opinion, something that might be a little bit better fit for an update that already has a lot going on is maybe coming back to the Ancient City. Now that it's been in the update for like almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years this summer. Now that the abandoned New York City has been in the game for a while and we've got the chance to like get used to it, play with it, check it out over the course of a couple summers now. It might finally be long last time to come back to the city and do something with this strange portal that, please, I beg you, it better be something cool like a portal. Please, make it do something. And one of my favorite interpretations of that hole, it's something to do with this portal right here. And maybe the devs could start to introduce a brand new dimension in this update and then segue perfectly into the next update that's all about it. After all, I'm probably the only one feeling this, but I've always wished the devs would somehow connect every update together. Like, maybe there's one thing in 1.21 that kind of leads into 1.22, and so on. Real quick, I'd like to ask you to consider hitting that like button for me. It helps me out huge time. Alright, let's move on. Over inside of this trial chamber that I definitely should have probably geared up for a little bit more, we're gonna find mobs and trials and chambers and maybe stories too. We'll make the stories along the way. Inside of this chamber too, we're gonna find one of the most dangerous mobs of all time. Haha! Over at Minecraft the Java Edition, there is no debate. This structure is way more difficult, at least if you get the poison skeleton version of the structure. You see over here, with the podzol, mushroom, and bone block combination, that means these skeletons are going to shoot every arrow as a poisonous arrow, which is so deadly. However, make it even more lazy. No offense. I love the idea. It's a really cool concept, but this is literally the same thing as the Stray, except they're much more lazy. So look, here's the thing. The whole thing with the husk is it's literally a plain old zombie, except when it touches you, it'll give you hunger as well. So it's like a different version. With the Stray, it's a plain old skeleton, except now it's going to be a little bit frozen. When it shoots you, it's a frozen arrow. The thing with the poison skeleton is it's a plain old skeleton, but with a poison arrow. You get where I'm going here. This mob is so unfinished. In fact, unfinished to the point that on Bedrock Edition, it doesn't even exist. Here's the hoping that this really cool new mob actually becomes an actually cool new mob and not just a skeleton holding a poison arrow. And while we're at it, let's keep talking about the trial chamber structure for one more second, because there is one big, bad, and really beautiful mob inside of this structure that definitely needs a little bit more work. When it comes to combat and mechanics, the Breeze has gone through a little bit of a flip-up over the course of the final snapshots of 2023. However, even though this mob has undergone quite a few upgrades, refinements, everything like that, it still is so unfinished feeling. Like, for example, the Breeze is such a cool, unique mob. The only thing like it in the entire game is the blade, but as soon as you take it out, you don't even get anything cool. I mean, I guess there is the whole trial chamber reward loot, but There's also that from every other trial spawner too. I've been really wanting to do an Everything series episode on the Breeze, but I've been waiting because I feel like at the bare minimum, we've gotta absolutely get a drop from this thing. At the least for this beautiful breezy boy, I'd say a proper drop is on the way. At the most, maybe even a further implementation of this mob. Though it might be a little bit random, imagine how cool it'd be to climb a tall mountain with powdered snow all over the place, only to find one single solitary breeze waiting for you up at the top. You know, up high in the mountains, high winds and all. Maybe that's the origin story for this blue boy right here. So the funny thing about this update so far is that it's a stated combat update, except it's not really a combat update at the same time. Technically, we've got a brand new structure related to combat added to the game, but when it comes to directly combat, it's exactly the same. Or maybe I should say different on both Java and Bedrock. All bugs and missing mobs aside, just on combat differences alone, this amounts to the trial chamber structure almost being an entirely different experience on either version of the game. Another huge thing that I think might make its way to Minecraft 1.21, and maybe even soon, is a proper combat update, making combat the same on both versions. Redoing all of the combat mechanics will probably need months and months of feedback from the community. After all, it's probably going to be divisive. The devs currently have months and months of cleared up zone for like implementing brand new combat and then the perfect structure. Look, what I'm saying is, how are they not going to redo combat in this update and finally make it the same on Bedrock and Java? I mean, the structure, this disappointingly looted structure is literally the exact trial chambers for trialing out the brand new combat. They literally called it that. I'm sure of it. Villager. The villagers. I don't know what's going on with these villagers. It actually genuinely wholly confuses me. The villagers started getting an update back in Minecraft 1.20.2 last summer. After that, it's been a long time of quietness. So I'm not gonna lie, this one actually kind of makes me a little bit sad about the villagers because this whole update, at least in part, was really cool. The idea of being able to buy a map from one villager, you go over to this guy, you buy a map, it's so much lore. Like the villagers are all interconnected somehow properly. But yeah, you get a map so you can actually find something easily. That's such a nice idea. And that's not even all they got too. You've got a brand new armor with some really upgraded higher up trades. The Wandering Trader is actually, dare I say, potentially cool now and useful. It'll buy things from you and sell you better things sometimes. The Lectern Librarian changes are debatable, very controversial. Maybe those aren't so good with biome locking and all, but at the least, like 75% of these villager updates are really cool. Now, technically speaking, on both versions of the game, if you want to check these out, they're not included in Update 1.21, just like the bundle. But you never know. At the bare minimum, I think that the devs are going to cycle back around to this stuff soon. Who knows, maybe with the Armadillo for 1.20.5. At the bare maximum, for the 15th anniversary of the game, 1.21 includes a total villager revamp. Again. And who knows, maybe this next beautifully promising one, could relate to the villagers too. So inside of this little game that has a lot of mining and crafting, we've also got quite a few workstations, or in other words, different tables. We've got the classic crafting table, but then we've also got things like the map table, the book table, the fletching table. Alright, that doesn't even really count as a table, does it? It's a textured, pretty looking block. Now this one is interesting. It gets my mind spinning in circles. I'm so curious about it. A couple weeks ago, the devs dropped a little bit of a closer look at the crafter and the brand new pot functionality. Now, I did a whole deep dive on this one and why this shot right here, right up there, is so specifically interesting. So for more on that, check out the deep dive. But long story short, frying table. What in the world do these two deliciously intriguing words mean? And why was it up on the top of the screen in that video? Upon the gentle caress into my ears of the two words, frying table, my mind instantly goes to food update. Food. It's such an old system, and it's another system that is pretty different on both versions of the game. Could potentially, in the second half of this update, we'd be looking at some kind of brand new cooking update that would in turn revolutionize food as well. Maybe making things like carrots more useful, being able to fry them. Almost no matter what though, if a new block is added to the game and it has the word table in its name, it's like almost guaranteed right here to 80% that it's going to have some kind of cool use to it. Because of the inclusion of this new block and some of the clearly staged shots for this video, it feels intentional to me, like the devs planned on wrapping up with the first part of 1.21 and wanted to give us a little breadcrumb to speculate on until it eventually makes it into the game. I wouldn't be able to define for sure exactly what a frying table means, but the potential of this thing could have might be the best reality possible for Minecraft 1.21. Now, in respects to the legend himself, I figured there was only one way that I would be able to conclude today's video. If we want to talk about things that might be next for Minecraft 1.21, we need to circle back to Dan, good old trusty Dan. So Dan did it. Dan totally called the crafter. That's such a weird and oddly specific prediction. Another thing that Dan Gioni called that hasn't really came to fruition yet, seemingly, is something with a sound and a chest. A sound and a chest. Back when the developers were developing Minecraft 1.19, the ancient city and everything, they had the idea of some kind of big, noisy chest, like a sound chest that would be inside of the ancient city. At that time, it never ended up getting implemented into the game. And to me, this is the most logical conclusion. All in all, sound chest, what in the world could it mean? My guess is as good as yours. Minecraft 1.21's got a couple months left of development. That's plenty of time for plenty. What would you like to see? Thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, tab like, and if you're new here, hi, welcome. It's me, Waddles. For more fun Minecraft videos like this and even more, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.